Hi, this is Andy. It's with great regret that I announce that I made an error on today's podcast, and I know that you come to the Andy Staples Show for only the most accurate, up-to-date information, and I take that responsibility very seriously. So I just want to let you guys know that there's a mistake in the podcast, and I felt like the only truly honest way to handle it was to leave it in there, as much as I regret it and as much shame as I feel for making it. But if you don't grow and learn from your mistakes, then you just stay stuck in the mud. So perhaps having my mistake broadcast to the public will help me grow and become a better podcaster. So I just want to let you know that at a certain point in today's podcast, when Ari and I are discussing the heels of college football, I mixed up Iron Mike Sharp with Barry Horowitz. I said that Iron Mike Sharp was the guy who patted himself on the back, and that was absolutely Barry Horowitz. So I apologize, Mr. Horowitz. I apologize, Mr. Sharp, and I apologize to you, the listener. I'll try to do better. Thank you. Welcome to the Andy Staples Show. It's an Ari thinks I'm going to owe him money edition, I guess. Or you seem very confident that I am going to have to pay you $1,000 at some point in the next 3 years.
Okay, I'm reading the lyrics by Rihanna. And I'm going to try to sing it.
Okay, go for it.
Bitch better have my money. Y'all should know me well enough. Bitch better have my money. Please don't call my bluff. Pay me.
Oh, please don't call my bluff. I don't think you understood the meaning of the song before you
Pay me what you owe me. Ballin' bigger than LeBron. Bitch, give me your money. Who y'all think y'all frontin' on? Like, brah, brah, brah.
Oh, man.
I wish I could play. If I played the song from my iPhone into the mic, would our podcast get taken down for copyright problems?
On YouTube, it definitely would. And possibly off of Spotify.
Bitch better have my money.
You know, we could fair use it on Spotify and Apple Music. We'd probably make that argument, but YouTube would absolutely, like, the algorithm would just
I think that
destroy us.
By the way, that's the point. I've been called the songbird of my generation.
It's like hearing angels' wings flapping. It really is. So, but by the way, smash the subscribe button on YouTube. We're going to steal something, Ari, I think, from one of our guests this week.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike Golick Jr. is going to be the guest on Wednesday's show. He's got a new podcast called the Gojo Podcast. And what he's doing, we were definitely stealing. So you know how we do the Dear Andy shows and the Dear Andy and Dear Ari shows? He's got a setup where if you leave a 5-star review and you put a question in it, it goes to the top of the queue in the mailbag. So that here, listeners, 5-star review, ask us a question. We will answer it on the next Dear Andy, Dear Ari show.
Yes. And if it's a person who works higher up at a record label and you want me, just hit me at awasserman@theathletic.com.
It's funny because that song, like that Rihanna song, did not make much impression on me. Anytime I hear that title, I get it confused with Baby I Got Your Money, Khalees and ODB.
Well, that's the song that you should be singing.
Well,
Baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. Say hey.
Oh, I got it. It's in the Venmo queue. It's just I'm never going to have to send it. I'm just not worried about it. So
I'm the guy that when I'm gambling, if the team is down in the first quarter, I get angry and think it's over. And I'm the guy who gets overly confident that it was free money in the first quarter. So I know we have a long way to go here, but I was like really bummed when Josh Conerly went to Washington. And like, it's like this bet has turned me into a USC fan where I'm like reactionary about everything that happens.
That's why we're not supposed to gamble on sports. But hey, it's a brave.
This is entertainment.
World.
Yeah, this is entertainment.
We've all got gambling sponsorships, including the Athletic. And so, yes, the deal is if USC makes the playoff at any point over the next 3 seasons, so the 2022, 2023, or 2024 season, I owe Ari $1,000.
If they make the playoff this year, do I get like some sort of bonus? Do you have to pay me some sort of penalty?
No.
I'm just making a joke.
There's no juice on this thing.
Do you think they could make it this year?
No.
I was texting with Antonio Morales, our USC beat writer, and he is coming I think I don't want to speak
Is he
for
coming
him.
around?
I think he's coming around to Daddy's side of the fence.
So this is Jordan Addison commits to USC on Friday. This was the place that he was expected to go when he left Pitt, and he looked at Texas. Alabama may have been in the mix, and Ari.
You just figured it out? Because I was going to say it. If you just figured it out.
You think the whole Nick Saban blowing up thing on Wednesday night was Jordan Addison going, USC offered me a better deal?
That's not what I was thinking in my head. What I was thinking in my head was, how appropriate would it be if USC made the playoff this year and Jordan Addison, who came directly from your favorite college, Pitt, is the catalyst for that.
That's right. For those who have not been listening for a couple of years, I had to eat mayonnaise. Probably the greatest moment in this podcast history. I had to eat mayonnaise because Pitt lost NC State in 2020. And basically every time I bet on Pitt, Ari says, don't do it. And it's not that Pitt loses it is Pitt does the thing that Pitt is not supposed to do. So if you bet on them to win, they will lose. If you bet on them to lose, they will win. They just don't do what they're supposed to do. So yes, the Pitt mayonnaise musk is all over this one because Jordan Addison now on to USC. This is a guy who caught 100 balls last year. He won the Biletnikoff. He's got Caleb Williams throwing him passes. It's Lincoln Riley's offense. Yeah, it's gonna go pretty well. Now, I still stand by what I said that 50s, 60s, 70 numbers are what I worry about more with USC. I don't think they have what they need to compete with Oregon and Utah for the Pac-12 title. Now, the Pac-12 no longer has divisions. Well, they still have them. They're still scheduled that way. But the championship game is going to be number 1 versus number 2. Or do you think that's even going to matter this year? Like, I'm not sure there's anybody in the North that would be the second best team. Let's say Oregon is the best team. I'm not sure anybody in the North would be, unless Washington under Kalen DeBoer really.
No, I think that it's going to play out the same way it would if the division still existed this year.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be Utah or USC probably in the South, Oregon probably in the North.
I think that we'll see 2 Southern teams before 2 Northern teams.
That would make sense if it's Utah and USC, but I'm telling you, to use the hockey terminology, if you've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, Oregon's going to be a wagon this year. Like Dan Lanning stepped into a nice situation.
Yeah, I would not obviously be surprised if Utah or Oregon won the Pac-12 this year and USC didn't go this year. But no team in the Pac-12 has nearly as much top-end talent as USC. Like, it's not even close.
I don't know. I mean, Justin Flo and Noah Sewell are pretty top end.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They just don't play quarterback or receiver. And again, this is the problem.
I think that Jordan Addison is the person that's going to get USC over the hump, and that's not what I think.
Well, that's why when he committed, you said you started singing Rihanna.
No. The reason why I did is because it restored my faith that USC, who I thought was hopeless in the NIL world because of what happened with Josh Conerly, is now a player, and I think it's an indication of what could be coming down the pike. Okay. If USC continues to be an attractive destination for transfers, and I know that being a skill position offensive player is probably the thing that speaks to people the most, given Lincoln Riley's reputation. But if USC becomes sexy again, like I have been talking about for the last 6 months since Lincoln Riley did this, that this is a trend, and that is going to lead to them being very, very good in the future. Right. And I think the 3 years is an eternity.
Right. It doesn't necessarily have to be, because I keep saying lineman. I understand what you're saying now. It doesn't necessarily have to be linemen out of high school that they develop. They could go get some good linemen out of the portal next.
Yeah, and like when you give me 3 years in the transfer portal era, it might as well be a decade to me. Like their entire roster could be like 20 or 2001 Miami by the time 3 years goes on, depending on how things go. Now, that's an exaggeration, obviously, but like I think they're going to be very, very good. And I would be very surprised if they weren't the odds-on heavy favorite to win the Pac-12 by year 3. So I don't know that they'll win it this year, though I do think that if things come together and Lincoln Riley turns them into Oklahoma, they could.
Here's the other problem here. Winning the Pac-12 hasn't been enough for the Pac-12 champion the last 5 years.
Well,
that's a problem too.
Can't lose twice. If you dropped Oklahoma teams into the Pac-12 the past 5 years, the ones that made the playoff out of the Big 12, they walk into the playoff from the Pac-12, right?
Some years. I think it depends. 2019, that Oregon team probably would have given them a really good game. But the other years, I think they probably would have.
So it's like, do we think that he could just make USC into a carbon copy of Oklahoma? Like a team that can just rock shit in the regular season, beat teams that are average, and then just make because it's only making the playoff.
But the Big 12 didn't have anything like what Oregon is. And now Utah's a different animal in terms of how they're structured, but Utah would be more like your Oklahoma State and your Baylor in the Big 12, where they're your tough out, they're your well coached, always going to give you a problem kind of school. But there was nobody in the Big 12 that had that kind of top end talent, except I guess maybe Texas, but they didn't do anything with it. Like Oregon actually has done stuff with it.
Yeah, and if they lose to Oregon 3 consecutive years and don't make the playoff by year 4, like I just think if you asked a general fan of college football, what would you think of Lincoln Riley's tenure if that happened, they would say it's like a huge failure.
Oh, he'd be on the hot seat, I think.
So if that happens and I'm wrong and I owe you $1,000, then like if I'm wrong, I'm going to be very wrong. And if I'm right, it's going to be easy. So I'm very curious. I think we're going to know very soon if we're on the right track. But my anticipation was that USC would be the West Coast iteration of Oklahoma. And I don't think it's going to take as long as you think to make them the West Coast iteration of Oklahoma. The one thing I want to know is, and maybe you know this better off the top of your head than I do, but like, hasn't Oklahoma's defensive line been a very big point of contention for them? And hasn't.
Problem.
So like, all the things that you're saying, I feel like existed at the previous stop, and he made the playoff like 4 years in a row.
Yep.
And I know there's no Oregon in that conference, but like, I mean, I think you can make the case that the Big 12 was more competitive from top to bottom than,
well, there is a Utah. And if you don't have a very good defensive line, that's a problem. Like Utah's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, if they're losing to Utah, then, I'm very wrong. So,
you're going to be very wrong and you're going to pay me. It's fine. It's cool.
I'm already thinking about what I'm going to buy with your money.
Yeah, $1,000. Boy, that goes a long way these days.
I'm gonna make it go a long way. Maybe it'll be a down payment on the in-house fountain drink machine I've always wanted.
Oh, could you?
I think Brent would leave me before that happened.
I have actually looked into getting a Coca-Cola freestyle machine. Like, what does that take?
No, the freestyle machines are like $20,000, aren't they?
You got to rent it basically, and then you got to pay for the syrups. And it gets.
I don't know how much. I have no concept of how much a bag of Coca-Cola syrup is.
I don't either, and probably with inflation, it's probably a lot more than it was when I looked it up about a year ago.
You can buy a fountain drink like you would see in a fast food restaurant, and I'll send you a text with it just so you can picture what I'm saying. But just like a Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, lemonade.
Yeah, with the hoses, and you attach them to the carbonated water and the syrup.
$4,200. So
I'm the down payment on the fountain drink machine.
Yeah. I don't know that I would finance it, but I do feel like this is like within the realm of possibility, and I do think that it's one of the 5 coolest.
Ari?
What's that? What else have I been Googling? I'm afraid to do this because you never know what's going to pop up. Bitch better have my money lyrics. AC Milan money line spread. Mop replacement. Bishop Sycamore.
That's common with us.
Snow tires. I don't know what's going on.
Snow tires? What are you looking up snow tires for?
It was just an inside joke with a friend who said he could buy a car and didn't feel like he needed to do it because he lived in Salt Lake City, and he said the snow tires were too expensive to buy the car. And I thought it was a joke. That's like, if you're going to buy the car, the tires shouldn't be the thing that deters you from buying it. I get into the dumbest arguments with my friends. You have no idea. I had a 20-minute argument with a friend in a group chat today about whether or not Domino's should ever be ordered sober. And he was like personally offended that anybody would ever eat Domino's sober. And like, we were arguing about it like it was like a family feud for 20 minutes.
Does he have kids?
He has one kid, yeah. But he said if he ever is going to have something delivered to his house, and why would he get that crappy pizza when he can get anything from Uber Eats?
Yeah, kids probably not old enough yet, but yes, once your kids are in the,
I don't like that you use your kids
range,
as the only reason why. I get it before it has nothing to do with kids.
Yeah, I know, but you have the palate of a 5-year-old, so it
you don't think that the Wisconsin stick cheese just slaps? I just think it's good. Like, I'm not saying it's the best pizza on the face of the earth, but if you want pizza and you want to watch it during a football game and you want it quick and you want it to be consistent, because I'm of the opinion that
all right, I have a better pizza place in front of my neighborhood that's actually closer to me than the closest Domino's. Like,
do they have the cheese bread there at that local pizza place that you're talking about?
They have their own cheese bread that is very, very good.
I would bet my life that it's not better than Domino's.
Domino's cheese bread is not as good as you think it is.
It's one of the top 5 dishes on the face of the earth.
I know you think that.
Then, like, maybe I have the palate of like, I'm not saying I'd rather have Domino's than my favorite pizza place.
You are like this buddy I have from high school.
You're on this other guy's side of the equation. It's frustrating me.
He eats steaks, burgers, and chicken fingers. Like, that is you.
But I rarely eat chicken fingers.
Why? They're delicious.
Because I always feel like shit when I'm done. It's like one of those foods that it's too heavy. Like, I don't know. It's like too fried.
But I am not on this guy's side of don't order Domino's sober.
He's offended that you would choose to eat Domino's over any other pizza place that's locally in your neighborhood or on Uber.
Well, if I have a choice, if I'm gonna, especially now with how I spend my calories and all that, I'm not going to Domino's.
But don't you have a choice every time you're ordering pizza? What do you mean if I had my choice?
No, sometimes my kids want Domino's, so I order them Domino's, but I don't get it for myself.
So you're on his side.
Yeah, I guess I am. I guess I'm a snob.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the pizza industry in general is 80% mediocrity. So like, if most pizza places are mediocre and your favorite pizza place is available to you, then I understand getting your favorite pizza place. But sometimes Domino's just hits in a way that other places don't.
No, it doesn't.
The same way that McDonald's doesn't have the best hamburger and fries on the face of the earth, but sometimes it just hits when you need it.
No, it doesn't. I never choose a McDonald's hamburger over anything unless it is the only thing available for me to eat.
Sometimes things, how about this? Do you agree with this? Sometimes the lower quality version of something, even though it's not the best, hits when you need it.
No.
So you get the best version of everything at all times?
If it's available. If you have no choice.
I just think that Domino's has a very important part on the pizza ecosystem. And it's like, if you want to order a quick pizza,
to you now for cheap, and your kids probably like it better than good pizza.
And it's just perfect to eat while you're sweating a sporting event on Sunday night, and cheesy bread.
No.
60% of the time it hits every time. So I don't know.
Tonight on the grill. What's that? I made trout tonight on the grill. That's what we had.
Well, aren't you a slice of pie?
I'm not a slice of pie anymore. I used to be a very large slice of pie. And
I'm down 6 pounds since I left Phoenix, by the way.
Nice. Awesome.
On the Lose It app. So we're humming right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
And like, I could never order cheesy bread on this app, which is like the worst thing in the world.
You can, but it's probably the only thing you could eat
for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you could do some serious workouts. Like, there are days when I want to eat a ton,
but I don't trust the iPhone calorie
Stop
counter.
Worrying about how much weight have I lost. I'm telling you,
you've got the metabolism
accurate.
of a Greek god, though. So
because I work out,
it's working. Yes,
yeah,
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
I'll have a day if I have a day where I'm not working a bunch and like kids are in school or they're out of school and it's a weekend day and I really want to eat a lot. I'll burn like 1,600 calories working out. I'll work out for like hour 40, 2 hours, and then eat what I want. And you're fine.
So while you were saying that, because I was thinking about being skinny, but I was Googling something in the background. Fountain Coke syrup.
Yep.
A 2.5 gallon bag of regular Coke.
Yep.
Guess how much that costs?
$22.
$89.
Holy cow. How much Coke does that make?
That's 2.5 gallons of the syrup. So I don't know how much of the syrup it takes. My understanding is that it costs a fast food restaurant a fraction of a cent to fill up your
Yeah,
large fountain
I
drink.
would think that 2.5 gallons of syrup would go a very long way when mixed with the carbonated water, which is probably very cheap.
80% of it, right? Or
Yeah.
90% of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going to read the reviews. It goes bad after 18 months, so you got to hit it after 18 months.
I think you could probably manage that in 18 months.
It makes about 30 gallons of Coke.
Okay. You can drink 30 gallons of Coke. The app's not going to like you. Let's see how many calories are in 30 gallons of Coke.
Well, how many ounces are in a gallon?
128.
Okay, so what's 100? I can do this off the top of my head, I think, or on a calculator.
We are bad at math on this podcast.
So there's 128 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 10 cans per gallon.
There's
Times.
this is great pod right here. Okay,
It's 48,000 calories
in 30 gallons.
Yeah.
Are we sure about that?
Pretty sure, but you can double check my math. I did.
Yep. Yeah. 40. I get 44.8 because I think you're doing a different per can. I added 140 per can.
It's 150 per can.
Is it 150? Okay,
yes.
Then you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, you can handle that. Over a year and a half.
It is crazy because the worst thing a human being can drink or eat or consume
is pure sugar.
So,
yeah.
And it's like in this app, if I've got 2,500 calories in a day, I theoretically could have a can of Coke every day and still lose weight. But like, it seems to me that like I wouldn't lose weight.
Waste. That's one.
There's nothing more refreshing on the face of the earth than an ice cold can of Coke on a hot day.
Then drink Coke Zero.
It doesn't hit the same way.
It does if you just drink Coke Zero for a while. Then when you drink regular Coke, it tastes wrong and it hurts. It actually hurts your teeth. Like your teeth tingle with the real sugar.
Yeah, it's terrible for you. But you have to like. Coke Zero tastes terrible to somebody who drinks regular Coke.
No kidding. So stop drinking regular Coke, start drinking Coke Zero, and then Coke will taste terrible, and you will avoid the choice with all the calories. And this is the part where I know a bunch of you are going to go, "What all the chemicals in Coke Zero? You're going to die." No, I guarantee you it'd be worse if I were drinking regular Coke.
Yeah,
I will drink a Coke, a delicious Coke. There's a reason they're making the can look just like Coke now.
Yeah, they're trying to fool people.
Well, they don't need to fool me.
The red can does have like a psychological impact on what you're about to get.
I thought Coke Zero was a wonderful idea because I had stopped drinking full calorie sodas, but Diet Coke sucks. So I don't understand why it took them 30 years to figure out if you just make a Diet Coke that tastes more like Coke, it'd be better. But they figured it out finally.
Yeah. I think that Coke Zero is much easier to drink when it's on draft. Like coming out of a can, it's hard. 100%. It's more harsh.
100%. And I would pour it. I would recommend, especially if you're new to it, pour it over ice, and you'll be a little bit happier. But yeah,
do you want to talk about college football today, though?
We probably should. So we've gone through the USC thing. Jordan Addison going to USC. That the Caleb Williams to Jordan Addison part of that is going to work. Like they're going to have good skill talent on offense. They should be able to score some points. How much are they going to give up? What happens when they play teams with elite defensive lines? Those are my questions. That's the big thing. But I do think you are closer to winning your bet than you would have been had he not shown up, because for the reason you said, I think your reasoning is right on that. It is an attractive destination. This means they can do the NIL stuff, because we were kind of wondering with them for a little while. They were kind of behind.
I was ready to pay you when I thought they were behind.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know where everybody is. We
don't.
We can assume that Nick Saban thinks Alabama's behind. I want to get into some of the new rules that got passed last week, but I also want to revisit the Nick Saban thing, because the last time we recorded, we had not seen Deion Sanders' response to Nick Saban yet. But also, I've just had more time to think about it. And I've always been one of the people that's like, oh, Nick Saban, everything he does is calculated. He has an end game in sight for everything he does. But I'm willing to go here and say that even the best coach of all time, he's not infallible. Like, he messed up here. And it's so, one, if you saw Deion's response on Anscape, which is used to be the Undefeated, John-Jacques Taylor's the reporter he talked to. Deion, I think, broke it down better than anybody else, where he basically said, look, Nick Saban wasn't talking to me, and he wasn't talking to Jimbo Fisher. He was talking to his own donors, saying, if you guys don't get cracking on this and aren't willing to reload this fund every year, then there's a chance Alabama could fall behind on it. And that's him issuing a warning. Where he, I think, miscalculated was he figured he could mention some specifics, throw some red meat at the crowd, and that would be fine, and nobody would do anything about it. But the thing is, he called out the two people who are least likely to be afraid of him.
Or least likely to be quiet.
Right. And have no fear of saying something. Because, like, almost every other coach in America, if Nick Saban calls them out, is going to be like, privately is going to be cussing him out, but publicly is going to be, well, I don't know. I can't really say anything. Jimbo Fisher doesn't care. Like,
I mean, I'm still kind of coming down from the high of watching that.
It was crazy. Like, just, I still would love to see raw video of Jimbo Fisher first hearing about this. Because,
I mean, that was like legitimately personal.
Multiple people attempted to calm him down and attempted to talk him out of that press conference. And it didn't work. And that's what so that's probably the toned down version of it.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about the podcast that we did the other day. And I think it's also a calculated move by Jimbo Fisher, because I think Texas A&M people take great pride in what he did.
Yes. And Nick's talking to his people and Jimbo's talking to his people.
I know a lot of Texas A&M people, and I feel like they are all in on Jimbo Fisher.
Yes. And they will be, unless for some reason this does not pay off in a SEC or national championship down the road. But,
well, how long do you think he has before he's not loved there?
Oh, he's got 3 or 4 more years.
Okay. I was going to say 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And if you keep doing this, it's just like we kept talking about Kirby. You keep doing this, you're going to break through. So
I'm not sold that Texas A&M is going to be able to do this for 5 straight years, though.
They might not be able to.
I don't know if they can do it for 2 straight years.
Well, and that's the other question, because then you may have to adjust your expectations down. Like, Kirby got it rolling, and like you and I were banging the Georgia's going to win the national title drum all last offseason. And it was the reasoning behind it was, if you keep recruiting like this, if you keep building like this, you break through. It just happens. You can't keep getting bites of the apple and not breaking through. A&M has to do this more than 1 year in recruiting.
4 years, I think.
Yeah. And that's
to be Alabama, they have to sign what they did last year for 3 more years.
I would think 3 years of it. But yes, I'd agree. And get yourself in position and hope and pray LSU doesn't get back to full power, because then you got the other problem. Now we'll see what they do with the divisions in the SEC, but I think that's not something that gets changed until until Texas and Oklahoma show up. And I don't think that's not this year, and I don't think it's next year either. It might be the next year. At the very latest, it's 2025, but that's still, that's a ways off. So it is so I think where Nick Saban miscalculated is, I'm not sure he thought anybody would break the code, like the omerta that coaches have about talking about that stuff. And Jimbo Fisher broke it and did not seem to care one bit that he was breaking it. Yeah. And I think that's the more interesting thing, because that's the sort of thing that was only talked about privately. No, what they call the Mafia La Casa Nostra. It means our thing. And you watch The Sopranos and we don't talk about our thing. Like, you're not supposed to talk about that in polite company and mixed company, and Jimbo did. And I'm not saying that Jimbo's wrong to do that. I don't blame Jimbo for anything he said after getting called out like that.
Well, here's the thing that we didn't mention on the podcast last week, and I want to run this by you.
Okay.
When we were in Scottsdale doing the podcast out in the heat and your computer overheated, we were making fun of the fans on Twitter for regurgitating things as fact without checking it and just assuming everything was true.
Yes.
I think Nick Saban did that to donors while being filmed. Like, he said things that he heard that he just assumed was true.
Right. Like, yeah.
And listen, I know that when you're Nick Saban and you have the intel, that was not a Brian Kelly fake accident. I just said that weird for some reason. That these guys are encountering recruiting battles and they have staff and intel and all those I mean, he knows about more what's going on behind the scenes than we do because he's living it. That said, like, tossing out Travis Hunter making $1 million to go to Jackson State.
Yeah, I read it in the newspaper. You didn't read it in any newspaper. That never appeared in any newspaper.
So,
yeah.
I thought that was, the more I've thought about it, I thought for somebody in his position, regardless of what his resume says, that was highly irresponsible. Like, you can't, as a coach, you can't just like be like, well, I heard this on through the grapevine, and I'm just going to throw it out there at people while I'm being filmed. Like, nobody's going to see this. It's just like, that was like and I hate to say it in such blunt terms, it's just like a really stupid thing to say. So, and like, he could have accomplished the same goal, the same calculated Nick Saban goal that you always talk about, without being specific about direct divisional rivals and another program that doesn't even play at the same level as his. Like, it just didn't seem like, when you say Nick Saban messed up, like, I just don't see the benefit of what he did being worth the fallout of what happened.
No, and I don't think he thought it was going to blow up the way it did, because I don't think he thought Jimbo Fisher would break the code. And I don't think he took Deion seriously enough to worry about it. I will say, again, after seeing Deion's response, and then he went on Mad Dog Radio on SiriusXM and talked about it, the more I see Deion running his program and dealing with stuff, like, the more impressed I get, and the more I think, if you have a Power 5 opening in the next couple of years, you are crazy if you don't try to talk to him about it.
Okay, what are the top 5 jobs where you think he would fit perfectly at? And like, nothing that's like Georgia, okay? Because everybody.
No, but Florida State, obviously.
Do you think like he is a hireable candidate if Florida State moves on from their coach after this year?
Yeah, I don't think Mike Norvell is going anywhere. I don't think they're going to move on. I actually think the way they played for him at the end of the last season, they're going to have a little bit better roster. I think he's going to be fine.
But like, in a fake world, if Mike Norvell were fired at the end of the year,
yeah, you go out, you go.
Is Deion hireable right now to them?
Yes. And there's another. Now, if he goes 2-10 at Jackson State, but I don't think he's going to. He went 11-2 last year. So Georgia Tech is another one. Arizona State is another one.
Yeah. Arizona State would be sick. I just feel like Arizona State is like the gimmick program where they're always trying to do something different.
I don't think Deion's a gimmick.
That's a gimmick. I know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it would just seem like, I don't know if Arizona State would be the right place for him, because I think if he went to Arizona State, he would be viewed as a gimmick, because Arizona State is the gimmick capital of the world.
Yeah.
Like, and he wouldn't want to be the latest in line of just like, well, we're going to try something completely off the wall and hope it works this time.
I'll give you one. So Dave Doran's probably going to have his best team at NC State this year. Let's say he has a great year and gets another job and NC State opens. Deion there. There's good players in North Carolina. You're not that far from Atlanta. You know, you can recruit Florida. I think you could win there. Win big.
Man, I'm trying to think.
If Lane left Ole Miss,
no, Florida State is just the perfect place for him.
I mean, it does.
It literally is not just because he went there, but it's just like a former powerhouse program that has struggled a ton the last few years, located in a place that's got direct lines to a lot of the players that he's selling right. I really think it would work.
That is not as well resourced as a lot of the places that he's going to have to compete with. And that's, I mean, Jackson State, he's competing with Power 5 schools for recruits and getting them to come to Jackson State. I don't care what you say or what NIL deals you think he's setting up. The resources at Jackson State are very different than the resources at Florida State or at any other Power 5 school that he's trying to compete against for recruits. That he got anybody who would have gone to a Power 5 school, who had legitimate offers to a Power 5 school, to sign with Jackson State is very impressive. You can say what you want about the NIL stuff. Travis Hunter's going to get NIL stuff at Florida State too. Y'all didn't think he was the number one recruit in the country. Like,
I'm with you, bud. I mean, the second that Travis Hunter went there, I said that Deion Sanders was a Power 5 candidate. And then everybody said that I was an asshole for saying it so soon. But, like, it's true. I mean, you know how I feel about...
Yeah, if he hadn't actually won, that'd be a different story. But they won.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm fascinated by all of that. And so of the three coaches involved, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, Deion Sanders, I felt like Deion handled it the best.
Well, yeah, because it was like Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher both kind of came across as like slapping each other like this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's exactly. It was just like, all right, guys. And it's like funny too, because there isn't just like one team that signed the number one class and then the 37th best team. It was literally the two of the best recruiting classes of all time on paper. Like, they both won last year. And I think that Nick Saban was a little upset that he was beaten by somebody that hadn't won. I think that regardless of how or why, you don't become the greatest without being a psychopath in the sense of you're just constantly competitive. And he would be a liar if you told me that Nick Saban does not care that they finished second place in the recruiting rankings last year.
So it was okay when Kirby did it to them, because
I think it's more understandable
through
when
their
Kirby,
system, right?
Yeah, and Kirby was at a place that has all those resources and is in the most talent-rich state in America. It only has Georgia Tech to contend with. Like, I think that Georgia doing that is what you would have expected the second that he walked out the door. The fact that it's A&M and everybody kind of uses A&M as like the punchline to their jokes of like, well, they're going to be 9-3 or 8-4 or whatever anyway. And, you know, what have they ever done? How many times have they played for the SEC champion? You know, the jokes.
Yeah.
Like, for them to be able to quote unquote NIL their way into the number one overall class, I think is something that would annoy him.
Yes.
And that's basically what I wrote in my column about it.
I agree with that. I think you're right about that. So it bears watching. I don't think we're going to get anything interesting in Destin. We'll see. I mean, Greg Sankey has basically put the kibosh on anybody talking about this in public again, which, you know, this is his predecessor, Mike's Live, was big on that, of keep it all in the family. And I think, you know, Sankey realized you gotta do that, or you get this. Now, I would argue all of this is great for the game. All of this is fantastic. We are talking about college football, and not just us, because we are always talking about college football here. College football led First Take on Friday.
Good.
Exactly. This just makes, because again, I keep telling these folks, and I keep saying it, nobody wants to hear it. They're in the entertainment business. So if you don't have to be WWE, like, you can be genuine, and it doesn't all have to be a work. But
I think genuine disdain for one another is more interesting than drummed up fake drama.
So amazing. It's because they do hate it. Like, I was always going to watch that game. I was always going to be very interested in that game. But now that is the game I want to see more than any other game this season.
What has always irked me?
What's that?
Is you have these press conferences before a boxing match. And these guys get in each other's faces, nose to nose, and they hate each other. They say funny, mean things to each other. And then the second that the boxing match was over, what do they do
hug.
every time?
They hug. Absolutely. Show respect for each other. Hey, and I feel like it's like people getting over on us, where it's like fake record, like people do fake feuds with record sales all the time, right? And in hip hop music, and it's just like Kirby Smart kind of was off to the side a little bit, but I do think that Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher genuinely don't like each other. Well, I think to me
that is
abundantly clear now.
Inherently more compelling than drummed up fake boxing promotion.
And this is why Steve Spurrier was so great for college football. It's interesting to me, you know, as someone who was around him a lot. Now, when I talk to people who are Tennessee fans, who are Georgia fans, who hated Steve Spurrier more than anything else, they love him now, because they knew he didn't like them. Like, he did all this because he hated them, and they appreciated that.
The thing is that if you go back and think about it, I might, if I'm putting you on the spot here, just tell me, we can revisit it on a later episode. But who are the 5 most unlikable head coaches of the last 10 years in college football.
If,
I guess to
if
borrow the
they're-
word heel.
Right. Okay. So, and this doesn't necessarily mean that we think they're a bad person. This is just they are
People
disliked.
like, is Nick Saban a heel?
No, because he's
I don't
too
think
good.
he is either.
He's too good because everybody respects him too much.
So, like,
at
is
this
Lane
point.
Kiffin a heel?
Yes, because there are people who vehemently dislike him. Still,
He's antagonistic.
yeah. But your own fans love you. That's the difference between wrestling and football. Like, if you're a heel in wrestling, you're supposed to be disliked by everybody. Now, they figured out, I think, at the beginning of the century that you could play a heel and then become beloved as a heel. That's what a lot of those guys did and became more beloved as heels. That's like New World Order and all that. And
it kind of happened in television too.
Yeah.
Where you start, like,
age of the
Breaking
anti-hero.
Bad,
Yeah.
right?
Walter
Like,
White is
Tony
a
Soprano.
horrible person,
Yes.
but he's the hero. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So Lane, I think Lincoln Riley right now. Lincoln Riley.
I want to say this before
you
keep going, though, but I think there's a very big difference between disliked and being a heel.
Right.
Because I don't think people like Brian Kelly, but I don't know if he's a heel.
I think you're right about that. I think Lincoln Riley might be the biggest heel in college football now through his actions, right? He hasn't done anything, hasn't said anything to cause that, but he's definitely. Jimbo cut a hell of a promo the other day. Alabama fans.
Do you think that college football fans were like, yeah, Jimbo, or
no,
Jimbo's an asshole?
I think he's the heel.
You think Jimbo's the heel?
I think they're fine with him going at Nick because Nick started it. But I think if you ask an LSU fan, if you ask an Ole Miss fan, if you ask an Alabama fan, they don't like him.
Is there like
they
a
view
thing,
him as a
and
heel.
maybe you know this, and you're going to be taking me on my SEC tour, so I'm going to get. But is there this thing in the SEC, and then we'll get back to the heel conversation because I think it's funny. But do other SEC schools just don't like A&M? Like, does A&M have like a weird, like, sitting in the corner of the classroom vibe, or is it just kind of how I view it?
So other Big 12 schools really hated A&M. They looked down on them. They thought they were kind of weirdos. They because it's, kind of cultish behavior. And the A&M folk, like Casey Smith, we had her on. She's like, it's a cult. She's a grad. It is. But I don't see their behavior as all that different than a lot of very passionate SEC fan bases. I think they're very similar to Auburn. They're very similar to Tennessee.
I just like to picture Texas A&M walking into a high school lunchroom with their food on their tray. Where's Texas A&M sitting down?
So it's a weird dynamic, though, if we're talking about the high school cafeteria. So Texas A&M's a rich kid, but not a well-liked, because a lot of times the rich kid gets people kind of glom onto them because they feel like they got a nice car, they can get a ride in a nice car.
Yeah.
They throw good parties. Their parents' liquor cabinet is always stocked. But in this case,
the rich kid is always liked.
But this is more. I cannot believe I'm bringing up this show on this TV show on this podcast because I was sure this would never come up. Did you watch The Gilded Age on HBO?
I didn't know.
Okay, so it's the creator Downton Abbey decided let's move Downton Abbey to America and make it and set it 20 years earlier. So you're talking about the 1890s in New York. And
it's like all like wealth and royalty in the 1800s.
But even in America, it was very similar to it was more similar to Britain than people wanted to admit. Because in America, you could make your own fortune. You could come from nothing and make a fortune. But society did not view new money as valuable or worthwhile. So it's about the push-pull between the new money people and the old money people who may not actually have all that much money anymore. And so it's a very new money, old money dynamic in the SEC, which is not the high school cafeteria. It's more Great Gatsby,
That's what I was going to say.
East Egg, West Egg kind of thing. But it is a very much a new money, old money problem. And it's not like Texas A&M didn't just come into money. They've had resources, but they're new to the SEC. And there hasn't been.
But are they that much richer than all the other SEC schools?
They're not, but there hasn't been a new, like, remember, Arkansas and South Carolina came in, but they're not the same level. Now, Arkansas's got money, but not like A&M's got money. And like when Texas gets there, it's going to be the same thing.
Does A&M have the richest donors?
I don't know if they have the richest donors, but they have They would I would say they have richer donors on average, or their median big donor is wealthier than the median big donor at any other SEC school. I don't know about Big Ten schools. I think the Big Ten schools might have some pretty big money. Texas obviously has some. So, but I do think if you're talking about the other 13 now, yeah, I'd say they do. And that's a lot of what Nick Saban was probably trying to channel and communicate to his donor base. Like, the state of Alabama is not as wealthy as the state of Texas. Like, that is a fact. There's no denying that. There are more people in Texas. There is more money in Texas. You name it.
And one of the major American industries is in Texas.
Correct. So that's where that's coming from. So the dislike of Texas A&M, I think it's a little bit of fear if you're Florida, if you're Auburn, if you're Tennessee, you're like, wait a second, we've been here the whole time. Are these guys going to come in and then be better than us? Like, to this point, they haven't really, but they could. The potential's there.
I don't know who they fit in with.
Like, who they sit with at lunch?
They want to be like Georgia and Alabama more than any program wants to be like Georgia and Alabama in college football. Their fan base is as starved for success as any fan base in college football.
Very similar to Georgia's fan base until January.
But Georgia has a little Alabama-ness to it because of their head coach. Like, I feel like Georgia has long belonged as an afterthought in the Alabama discussion. Like, I feel like being a program that has been in pursuit of that for over a decade is a little bit different than Texas A&M showing up with their oil money from a different conference and feeling like they should be in that sentence when they haven't necessarily put in the groundwork to be viewed that way.
See, I think the problem for Texas A&M, like, Oklahoma's not going to face this because Oklahoma was just winning all along. Like, A&M, and this is the frustration for A&M fans, I think, is they've had all these resources and they've been in leagues in the Southwest Conference and in the Big 12 that they could conceivably win and dominate, but they don't. They just never have.
Yeah. It's interesting. But like, I don't view their coach. Like, I think that they're kind of a misfit in their conference. Even it's like they're a misfit in their conference, but they fit in the SEC perfectly. And it's like this weird paradox.
That's exactly what I remember talking to some Oklahoma fans in 2011 when Texas A&M was moving, and they said, well, good luck with to the other SEC people dealing with those people. They're so weird. I'm like, y'all know they're just like Auburn fans, right? Like, there's very little difference. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, like, they yell real loud. They do crazy things. They have all these, and it's not just Auburn, but everybody, like, Ole Miss has their crazy sayings, and Mississippi State has their cowbells. Everybody's got their things in the SEC. Like, Oklahoma and Texas, I know the Oklahoma fans don't want to hear this.
But at least Oklahoma and Texas can sit with each other in the lunchroom.
Well, they can. And here's the thing that I said,
because Texas A&M's is not able to sit in that table.
Well, when we learned Texas was coming, I said this, and I believe it. I believe this is what's going to happen. Texas and Texas A&M will find out they have a lot more in common when they're in the SEC, and they may find themselves on the same side in a lot of arguments.
Yeah,
even if they don't want to be. Like, it's a very special episode of the OC in the SEC.
I need to go back and watch that, by the way. I've never seen that.
It's pretty good.
And it's my favorite place in the entire world. So
Adam Brody's hysterical. Rachel Bilson, it's probably her second best work behind Heart of Dixie.
I'm gonna go watch it. I need to. There's a lot of really good dramas out right now about murder that I'm into. But if I need like some, it's on in the background type.
It's popcorn. Yeah. And you'll burn. But that was back in the day when they had like 23 episodes in a season. So there's
good. There's a lot there.
All of these good looking, young people have slept with one another within
I'm in
the 2/3 of the way through the first season. So,
okay. So heels though, Andy.
Yes.
Because can I tell you who I think is a heel?
Yes.
Because I don't think Jimbo's a heel.
You just think people don't like him?
I find him to be likable. Yeah.
Oh,
I thought that the way he acted kind of
Florida State fans don't like him.
No, I know. I think that Yeah, I mean, I guess if you found a coach whose fan bases hate them, like Jimbo's on the list and Lane's on that list, but like I think Dabo Swinney is a heel.
I think you're right. And obviously Clemson fans love him, but his and what's weird, so it's not shtick, it's not an act. That's who he is. But how we view the things he says has changed based on their success. When
He says stupid stuff all the time that he shouldn't be saying. And I think he's one of the most brilliant coaches in the sport. And I have an endless amount of respect for what he built Clemson into, even though I don't think it's going to.
I don't think he understands that he's Darth Vader now. Like he doesn't.
I think he just says things and doesn't even occur to him that what he's saying is bad.
Well, I definitely think that's true.
And like I don't know it's not, and I don't know that it's a result of his success.
No,
maybe he's more comfortable saying the things that he's saying because of his success.
We shook it off when he was just kind of coming up because we're like, oh, they're just trying to get things going. And then once they did, then you look at him in the same vein as Nick Saban or as when he was coaching Urban Meyer.
There's a little bit of an arrogance too, like I'm not going to adapt because what I do works.
Well,
it seems to me like it kind of mildly annoying.
But that's
he
more
thinks he's above the adaptation and the.
But that's more zero sum, Ari, because either he's going to be wrong or he's going to be right, and he can laugh all he wants if he's right.
But if he's wrong, he's in trouble.
It's going to be bad if he's wrong. So that's one of the most interesting stories to me over the next couple of years of college football is finding out if Dabo Swinney's right about this.
Where's your money going?
That he's wrong.
My money has been on he's wrong dating back.
Oh, I know
I called this stuff like Nostradamus. And I'm wrong.
You notice I didn't make any bets with you on that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I know I'm wrong all the time, but like Clemson fans hated me a year and a half ago, and it's like the writing was on the wall for this. If they lose 2 games this year and they sign the number 9 class in the country, it's like it's over. Like I think that they're on a much closer tightrope walk than they think in this coming season.
Well, here's the thing. They're now going to have a school in their own league that acts like they do and acts like Alabama and Georgia and LSU and Texas A&M. Because that's what Miami is now. And their AD's at Miami now.
Yep.
And he knows exactly how Clemson was built. And he's going to help Mario Cristobal build Miami, not the way Clemson was built, but the way Alabama was built and the way Georgia was built. And it's going to be tougher. It's going to be much tougher if Miami is spending the same way Clemson is, but acting like Alabama or Georgia in the way they do it.
I think I'm gonna go on a limb and say that Dabo is the biggest heel in the sport right now, and Lincoln Riley is close to passing him. He's one weird press conference away from passing him. I think.
Right, Lincoln just has to say something.
He doesn't say anything
that offends the Oklahoma people.
It's just like Dabo's entire viewpoint of NIL.
Yeah,
it's so archaic and wrong, and it's like I understand that what he's saying makes sense. Like, he doesn't want money to corrupt the educate. Like, I get it. Like, I don't know that he's coming from a bad place, but like the Delta Airlines comparison, it's like, dude, what are you saying right now? Like, it's like, I'm thinking like, you are making so much money and you've built this program and NIL is literally the next frontier of the sport. And you're comparing your players to the bag checkers. Like, is that really like what you want to be saying right now?
I was in the crowd at Big 12 Media Days when Charlie Weiss did his look at this pile of crap out here. Like, you can't say stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you one thing. Trevor Lawrence was not a bag checker.
No. He was the pilot.
I'm looking through the list of names of head coaches to see if I'm forgetting anybody, but like I don't know who, like Lincoln Riley and Dabo Swinney come to mind. I think that Brian Kelly is just not likable.
Jim Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh a heel
to him. I don't know if he is anymore.
He's a heel when they're winning.
He certainly was a heel when he got back to Michigan.
But I don't know that anybody do people dislike him that aren't Ohio State fans?
Yes.
Maybe
the
Michigan
entire
State
SEC
fans
disliked him for the longest time. Now they don't care.
Because like after they beat Ohio State, he came out there and said that Ryan Day was born on third base. Like that is heel behavior.
That is that.
But like if it's only directed at one other program, I don't know if that counts as a national heel.
Well, but remember the satellite camps, all that stuff. He took a lot
Climbing
of shots
trees,
at the he took a lot of shots at the SEC folks there, and made a lot of people dislike him. So,
but
he
it's the
was
worst kind
definitely
of
doing
heel
it.
where you stop being a heel when you're losing.
Well, it's just not as much fun. Like remember you didn't watch. You're younger than me, so you wouldn't remember this guy. Iron Mike Sharp was a guy they tried to make him a bigger deal as a heel, but then it just never happened.
What is he, a
for him.
wrestling guy?
He's a wrestler.
Yeah, I don't know anything about wrestling.
And he would put like a handprint on his back and pat himself on the back. And like he was what they call a jobber. And the jobber's job in the house show is to get his ass kicked by the star. And there are good guy jobbers and bad guy jobbers to go against, whether you're going against a face or a heel. He was a heel jobber, but I think they thought they might be able to put him over at some point, and it never worked out. So Jim Harbaugh went from like heel star to heel jobber, but then he beats Ohio State. Now he's back to heel star, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm looking around. I'm looking around here. Who are we
James
forgetting?
Franklin. I think James Franklin is.
I think James Franklin's like talking to himself a lot.
No, listen, opposing fan bases in the Big Ten do not like James Franklin. They don't.
I mean, because it's like, I remember, and I don't know if this is just because I was covering Ohio State at the time and I was in that bubble, but like Wisconsin, Brett Bielema was a heel.
Yes. And Illinois, Brett Bielema may eventually become one. Do
you have to win to be a heel? Because I feel like you can be a heel without winning. You just have to say what's on your mind and offend people all the time.
I don't think you can be as much of a heel, because if you're not a threat, then people don't care that much.
Is PJ Fleck a heel?
Yes. Yes. He is vehemently disliked by multiple fan bases. And again, he's just being himself. Everybody's like, that's an act, that's shtick. No, that's him. You may not like it, but that's him.
It is. It blows my mind how boring so many of these head coaches are. Like, I'm looking at this list right now, and it's like, this person doesn't even have a personality. Like, I don't even name the list, but just like, what? I don't even know how to describe some of these people.
So who are
Pat Narduzzi a heel?
I think No, I don't think so. He speaks his mind for sure.
He says things sometimes we're just like,
Yeah. Now, here's my question. Who are the baby faces? Like, who are the beloved ones? Like, Dana Holgerson seems like
everybody likes Dana Holgerson.
West Virginia fans don't like him, but everybody else does.
Who are the baby? Jeff Hafley's a baby face.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves Jeff Hafley.
Mac Brown.
Mac, for sure. Although Mac was a heel for a while. Mac had a heel.
Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell is definitely a baby face. See, Dabo was the ultimate baby face coming up.
What's Mike? Yeah,
he made the heel. He made the heel turn without knowing it.
Mike Gundy, what's he?
I think he's a heel. I think he wants to be a heel.
Why? Because of all like the political stuff he was saying? Like, I don't even know.
No, I just think he's perfectly fine with it. Like, he doesn't care what anybody thinks. Like, he's the one most likely to act like Stone Cold Steve Austin, would be my guess.
What is Scott Frost?
Not winning enough. What is Mike Leach?
I think Mike Leach is like off in the sandbox while everybody's playing football.
Mike Leach is Mick Foley.
I don't even know what Mike
Mankind.
Leach is. Yeah, Mike Leach is just over there somewhere, just minding his own business.
Yeah, he's Mick Foley.
But
he can be a heel. He can be a face.
Too.
Whatever you want. He does.
He says whatever he wants, but he also spends so much time talking about nonsense that it's hard to stay on point with him.
The thing about Leach is it's sort of the Howard Stern thing. Like, nobody got shocked anymore after Howard Stern was on for a while because that's what you came to expect it from him. Which is funny because they don't really do that stuff anymore. Now he just does those, pretty good interviews. But he got to the point where,
well, people were playing with Mike Leach. I mean, they would ask him like, "What's the best way to make a cake?"
Oh yeah.
Like questions that nobody would get asked in other scenarios. But Mark Stoops is kind of just like neutral.
Yeah, I don't think anybody.
Eli Drinkwitz is neutral. Shane Beamer had a meltdown after the Georgia game last year, and I thought that was incredible.
Drinkwitz could become a heel in the right circumstance.
Yeah.
Because he will talk, he will be funny. And I think Dan Mullen was trying to be a heel. Like the Darth Vader press conference, and the A&M had too many people in the crowd, but now he's probably on TV. So
okay, I've got a few more for you.
All right,
this is fun. You know what? I always feel like Chip Kelly could be a heel, but like he just wants to be.
He
left
doesn't
alone.
want to. Yeah,
he just wants to live in his own world.
Yeah, he wants no part. He could absolutely be a great heel if he wanted to. He's very smart. Like he's so sharp. Like he'd be.
He just wants to go to his New England beach.
Yeah, he'd be amazing on the mic if that was his choice, but he chooses not to do that.
Herm Edwards.
I don't think he's
likable but cheating.
I guess, yeah.
Likable cheater. How many times have you come across that in your days?
Very likable, but they did some really dumb stuff, and it's not going well. And two more players gone now. We knew the defensive tackle was leaving. He's going to go to Louisville. They had a receiver, Ricky Pearsall, commit to Florida. So there's just not a lot of guys left who are contributors.
Yeah, I'm going to stump you on this one.
Okay,
Sark.
I don't think he's a heel. I think no, he was a little too average at Washington to be one or the other. The USC thing, I don't think people disliked him. I think they felt bad for him.
Just your existence as Texas's coach, I think, puts you in a category.
I think Tom Herman was a heel at Texas.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
The dancing and the pretending to wear the backpack and the
yeah. By the way, if I were a head coach, I would act like that.
I know you would.
I thought it was great.
I'm convinced you would. I have no doubt. You would be fined by the
I
conference.
would be White Goodman from Dodgeball.
You made me bleed my own blood.
Suck on that, Four Eyes.
Oh yes, you would absolutely.
I don't think I would be offensive or mean to people, but like I would be funny. I would be funny. I would enjoy it. I would enjoy winning.
Well, that's what Steve Spurrier was. He enjoyed winning, but he also enjoyed smiting his enemies. That was a big thing for him. Like, and I think that's a key in being a heel. Like, people need to know you're doing this with there's some malice aforethought.
Yeah. Luke Fickle's a babyface.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. Mel Tucker, babyface right now.
Who cares what he is? The guy just made $100 million.
I see.
Out of the transfer portal.
He's just rolling in it.
That guy doesn't care what he is. I'll be honest with you. That guy's got it made.
Shane Beamer's a babyface. Takes the Mayo bath. No problem.
It's important, I guess, that we bring this up.
Okay.
I'm blanking.
Okay.
It is blanked. Okay, I remember who I'm talking about now. Brent Venables. Because he's like got the Clemson-ish vibe to him because of all the years he spent there, but now he's also the head coach of a program that's going to be in the conversation nationally all the time. And I wondered, like, is he automatically a lovable hero because people want him to be like the anti-Lincoln?
I think there's that, and I think when he's on the mic, he's very much a babyface, but he's a maniac on the field. Like that Adam Smotherman, the assistant strength coach at Clemson, who was his get-back guy, like that man did some hard work over the last bunch of years. Like he's constantly pulling him back off the field. You ask Clemson players, they think at some point Venables is going to run on the field and try to make a tackle. Like,
yeah, no, he sweats a lot too, which is scary.
How does he do that as a head coach? Because if he acts as the head coach the way he did as a DC, he will very quickly become a heel. Like people are not going to like that.
What's Kirk Ferentz?
I don't think he's either.
He's just kind of old.
Yeah. He's just
the longest tenured head coach in college
football.
I
mean, it's sort of like, and Paul Chryst is sort of in the same place. Like they overachieve quite a bit. They develop guys. It's great, but neither one of them wants to wants to rock the boat or say much. Kirk Ferentz in conversations, very engaging, but he's not going to say anything. Like, he's not cutting a promo like Jimbo Fisher the other day.
What's Brian Harsin?
He doesn't want to be a heel. I don't think he wants to be a baby.
A heel to his own fan base.
Yeah, he wants to be left alone and just coach his team, I think. But the problem is that you can't be that in the SEC. Like, it doesn't work. There's no job where you just get left alone to coach your team in the SEC.
I just think, and pardon my French, but there's no other way to say it, I wish there were more head coaches that just talked shit.
I agree. So I was on in Birmingham the other day, and Jim Dunaway was asking me, but don't you understand why Greg Sankey would want to muzzle these guys and why that would be bad for the league if they kept talking? I'm like, it would not be bad for the league. It would be great for the league. I understand why he would like to muzzle them, but it would be fantastic for the league because here we are talking about it. Thursday was the most fun I've had talking about college football in May in my entire life.
Well, yeah, because it was the most outstanding press conference in the history of the sport.
Now, here's the thing. You can't fake that, unfortunately. And that's like WWE, they fake that.
Yeah.
You can't fake
I don't think
that.
we're going to get another press conference like that for another 100 years.
But if guys would just say what's on their mind, like what my favorite press conference before that Jimbo Fisher press conference was the Jim Mora Sr. playoffs press conference. Playoffs? You're talking about playoffs? He also had the offense sucked. The defense sucked. Special teams sucked. We didn't do diddly poo. Like, that's what I want from one of these guys.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't think that it's a problem. But, in college, it's just, maybe that'll change in the NIL era. Maybe that's what we'll get.
We are the stewards of an institution of higher education, or we can't possibly.
And they got to do that.
So gauche.
You got to make that noise while you're talking. The puffing on the corn cob pipe.
What
did I say? Did I say corn cob?
Not a corn cob pipe, but probably a nicer pipe. Yes, I agree. But we can't pop our peas, or that guy who gave us the bad review will give us another bad review. But yeah, you need to be the guy who says, he doesn't say Harvard, he says,
How do you do?
Harvard. Yeah, that guy. So,
well, sorry for hijacking the show on heel or not heel, but I thought that was a fun game.
You turned it into a great show, as you always do.
Thank you.
And I'm interested. So hit us up at Andy_Staples on Twitter, at Ari Wasserman, or leave a 5-star review and hit us up with a question that we probably will answer on the show. But also, feel free to make suggestions. Who are the heels we missed? Who are the baby faces we missed? Because I do think, and I hope you're right, Ari. I hope that with NIL, that, a lot of the, I hate to say it, a lot of the BS is done now. Like the pretending that this isn't a business, pretending that it's some high-minded, warrior poet society. Like, it's not what it is. It's a giant multi-billion-dollar business, and it's an entertainment business. So if you guys want to be entertaining, go for it. It will make us love you more.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
We already love you. So
yes.
That's it. Yes. I hope it happens. So Ari, I hope we get some more heels, some more baby faces, some more legit press conferences where people just freaking hate each other.
More using the word narcissist.
Right. Or comparing them sarcastically to Jesus. I mean,
walks on water.
Lord.
Yeah.
This is the greatest press conference of all time. I'm still on a high.
I mean, I thought about it in the last 4 days or 3 days since it's happened, and it literally is the most provocative press conference of all time in college football anyway.
It was tremendous.
College basketball, somebody literally said they were going to kill somebody else.
And tried to choke them.
I don't know if
in the
you can top
same
that.
moment. Yes, it is very hard to beat. Can you imagine if YouTube had existed when John Chaney tried to choke John Calipari?
Straight out hurtful comments towards another person. Like, if you legitimately call somebody else a narcissist, I think it's like the worst thing you could say about them.
It
And
ain't good.
actually say it from a place where you believe it.
Oh yeah. Like there was nothing held back, but there was nothing exaggerated either in what Jimbo Fisher said. It was 100% how he felt.
And basically called him a cheater.
Yes.
Go look up in it. Like that's the thing that no one's talking about, and I thought was the most.
Oh, we talked about it.
No, I know, but like out there, just like go dig up in his past.
Yeah,
it's like literally just said that, and it's like, oh, you mean from like the 4 years you were on his staff, bro? Like, what do you mean? Like, what? I want some.
Well, when else would he?
No,
that's when he would really know it. Now,
yeah.
Now, look, when he was at Florida State, he and Nick Saban went toe to toe on recruits all the time. So
yeah,
it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. We'll see if it blows up some more in Destin. I think they'll probably be on their best behavior, but there will be more to that. There'll be a lot more this week. So on Tuesday, Ari and I will be with Audrey Snyder, our Penn State beat writer. We're going to do a state of the program on Penn State. We will ask Audrey if she thinks James Franklin's a heel. I think she'll probably take a little more measured tone on that as the beat writer. But Mike Golick Jr. joining us on Wednesday's show, and then Stars Matter on Thursday. Big week coming up on the Andy Staples Show. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday.